If you stay with me until the very end, you'll understand why a genius single father risked everything, not for glory, not for money, but for a promise wrapped inside a smirk. Crack the case, and I'm yours, she said, leaning back in the metal chair, confidence dancing in her eyes. Her name was Agent Scarlett Hayes, one of the youngest senior agents in the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Across from her sat Drive, Ethan Cole, a widowed single father with a 160 IQ and a mind that saw patterns where others saw chaos. But this wasn't flirtation, it was a challenge, and everything was on the line. Ethan hadn't always been the quiet man with tired eyes and coffee-stained notebooks. 5 years earlier, he'd been a celebrated cognitive scientist, lecturing at universities, consulting on complex criminal profiles, and publishing papers that made headlines. But success meant nothing the night his wife, Lila, didn't come home. A drunk driver, a rainy bridge, a phone call that shattered his world. After that, genius felt useless. All that mattered was his 6-year-old daughter, Mia. Mia with her missing front tooth and her stubborn insistence on wearing mismatched socks. Mia who asked every night, "Daddy, are you sad today?" As if sadness were a weather forecast. He left academia, turned down federal contracts, chose bedtime stories over breakthroughs. His world shrank to school lunches, math puzzles at the kitchen table, and whispering, "I'm here," whenever nightmares crept in. Until the knock on his door. Agent Hayes didn't waste time with pleasantries. "We have a serial offender," she said, stepping into his modest living room. "No fingerprints, no digital trail, predictive movement. He's taunting us." Ethan didn't look impressed. "So you want a consultant?" "I want you." He almost laughed. "I retired. You disappeared," she corrected. She laid photographs across his coffee table. 3 crime scenes, 3 victims, no obvious connection, except Ethan saw it instantly. "They're not random," he murmured. Scarlett watched his eyes change, the subtle shift from father to strategist. "They're positioned like nodes," he continued, grabbing Mia's colored pencils. "Look, if you map these coordinates." He drew a geometric pattern. A spiral, not just any spiral, a Fibonacci spiral. Scarlett leaned forward. "You're saying he's choosing locations based on mathematical growth sequences?" "I'm saying," Ethan replied quietly, "he wants someone to notice." Scarlett's lips curved into that infamous smirk. "Crack the case, and I'm yours." It was reckless, unprofessional, but beneath the challenge was something unspoken, respect. And maybe hope. Ethan hesitated. Mia's laughter floated from her bedroom. He couldn't risk becoming the man who missed another bedtime. "I won't relocate," he said firmly. "I won't put my daughter in danger." "You won't have to," Scarlett replied. "Work remotely. Advise us." "But we're running out of time." The killer escalated. A 4th victim. This time, a message left behind. A carved sequence of numbers. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Ethan stared at the crime scene photos that night after Mia fell asleep. His brain worked like a supercomputer, but his heart dragged behind, heavy with fear. Because he recognized the pattern beyond math. It wasn't just Fibonacci, it was personal. Years ago, Ethan had published a controversial paper about criminal escalation models based on recursive sequences. He'd argued that certain high IQ offenders would design crimes as intellectual games, waiting for someone intelligent enough to respond. The paper had been criticized, torn apart online. One anonymous commenter had written, "If patterns are your language, let's have a conversation." Ethan's blood ran cold. "He's not just killing," Ethan told Scarlett over video call. "He's challenging me." Scarlett didn't blink. "Then let's answer." As days passed, Ethan and Scarlett built a rhythm, late-night calls, shared theories, sharp debates. She was field instinct and fearless action. He was logic and layered probability. But between case files and strategy, something softer formed. Scarlett learned about Mia's obsession with space documentaries. Ethan learned that Scarlett's tough exterior masked years of fighting to be taken seriously in a male-dominated bureau. They weren't flirting anymore. They were trusting. Then came the breakthrough. The killer's next projected location wasn't just another spiral point. It intersected with Ethan's past. An abandoned research facility where he once conducted behavioral experiments. "He's drawing me out," Ethan realized. Scarlett's voice hardened. "Then we draw him in first." Against protocol, Ethan insisted on being present at the command center near the site. Mia stayed with his sister for the weekend, tearfully clutching his jacket. "Promise you'll come back," she whispered. "I always come back," he said, though fear coiled inside him. The operation unfolded at night. Rain fell in thin sheets, like the night he lost Lila. Ethan watched monitors, calculating angles, predicting movement. He won't enter through the main corridor, he suddenly said. He'll avoid symmetry. He'll choose structural imbalance. Scarlett relayed the order. Seconds later, a shadow moved exactly where Ethan predicted. Agents swarmed. A chase. A struggle. And finally, the arrest. The killer was young. Brilliant eyes. Calm smile. You saw it, the man said to Ethan as they passed each other. I knew you would. Ethan didn't feel triumph. He felt relief. Weeks later, life returned to something close to normal. Mia hugged him tighter. Scarlett visited more often, sometimes with case updates, sometimes just with takeout and stories. One evening, sitting on Ethan's porch as Mia chased fireflies, Scarlett nudged him. You cracked the case, she reminded. He smiled. You caught him. She tilted her head. I keep my promises. This time, there was no smirk. Just sincerity. Their relationship didn't explode into fireworks. It unfolded slowly, built on shared battles and quiet mornings. Scarlett became someone Mia trusted. Ethan became someone Scarlett leaned on. But the real victory wasn't romance. It was this. Ethan learned that brilliance means nothing if you hide it from the world. Grief had convinced him to shrink his life. Fear had told him protecting Mia meant disappearing. But solving the case showed him something powerful. You can be both protector and participant. You can love deeply and still dare greatly. Months later, Ethan accepted a limited advisory role with the Bureau, on his terms. Flexible hours. Family first. At a small ceremony honoring the task force, Scarlett squeezed his hand. Still mine, she teased softly. He looked at Mia, sitting proudly in the front row. I was never the prize, he replied. Building something better together, that's the real win. If you've made it this far, remember this. Your pain doesn't cancel your potential. Your responsibilities don't erase your brilliance. And sometimes, the challenge that scares you most is the doorway back to yourself. So if this story moved you, if it reminded you that love and courage can coexist, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this aren't just entertainment, they're reminders that even in the darkest spirals, there's a pattern leading you home. And somewhere out there, someone might be waiting for you to crack the case.